When Dr. Norbert Chopik had all of the flowers gathered in his sanctuary for the first communion of flowers, he made a prayer and consecration of these flowers with these words: Infinite of life, we ask thy blessings on these thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do the work in this world. There in consecration of the flowers. The celebration of the flower communion is unlike any other worship service because it is only celebrated in Unitarian Universalist sanctuaries in remembrance of Dr. Norbert Chopik. He was a Unitarian minister who lived in the last century in the city of Prague. His home and his church were overrun by German soldiers in the years of World War II. His life defying their cruel occupation. But before he died, he influenced thousands of people with the beauty of his words and ideals. At one point, his congregation was 5,000 strong. In 1923, when he began to look for a symbolic ritual to bind the people in his congregation more closely together, he knew the format had to be one that would not alienate any who had forsaken other religious traditions. The traditional Christian communion service with bread and wine was unacceptable to the members of the congregation because of their strong reaction against the Catholic faith. So he turned to the natural world and came with the flower communion. The flower communion is specific to Unitarian Universalism. It was brought to the United States in 1940 and introduced to the members of our Cambridge, Massachusetts church by Dr. Chopik's wife, Maya. You see, the two of them met here in this country while Dr. Chopik was studying for his PhD. It was when the couple returned to Czechoslovakia in 1921 that his dynamic liberal church was established in Prague. The ritual symbolizes the light and color and fragrance of many creeds, cultures, and races joining together in a bright, living bouquet. It's my favorite ritual because it shows us just how individual beauty becomes lovelier when gathered as a whole. Every year in June, just before members of our congregations leave for various destinations over the summer, we celebrate and remember the bravery and creativity of Dr. Chopik and the beautiful ceremony that he created. When the Nazis took control of Prague in 1940, Nazi court records show that they found Dr. Chopik's gospel of the inherent worth and beauty of every human being to be too dangerous to the Reich for him to be allowed to live. That belief in the inherent worth in every being became the first of the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. The Nazis no longer exist, but how much of those same thoughts of Nazi Germany exists in our world today? even amongst the freedoms that we have in this country. Black youth are considered dangerous and life-threatening before they reach middle school. Brown children at the Mexican border are treated as disposable as yesterday's garbage. Members of the LGBTQ community suffer a higher all-cause mortality rate than heterosexuals. Moreover, it's risky to be Unitarian Universalists because we stand on the side of love, grounded in the 7 principles that we hold dear. Unitarian Universalist churches have had innumerable rainbow flags and Black Lives Matter banners destroyed over the years. However, the liberal voice and the message of Unitarian Universalism continues to have an important place in society. Dr. Chopik was sent to Dachau, where he was killed the following year during a Nazi alleged medical experiment. This gentleman's cruel death, but his message of human hope and decency lives on through his flower communion. This ceremony is widely celebrated in most of our Unitarian Universalist congregations because it's a noble and meaning-filled ritual. However, it has been adapted along the way, just as we have done with our virtual flowers that we will show today. During the first flower communion service, people were asked to bring a flower of their choice, either from their own gardens or from the field or roadside. When they arrived at church, a large vase stood waiting in the vestibule, attended by 2 young members of the church school. Each person was asked to place their own flowers in the vase. That it was by their own free will they joined with the others. After the service, as people left the church, they went to the vase and each took a flower other than the one that they had brought. The significance of the flower communion is that no 2 flowers are alike, just as no 2 people are alike, yet each has a contribution to make. Just before Dr. Chopik was put to death in a reflection on his life, he wrote the following prayer about the state of his spirit. He begins, "It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Though evil winds blow into my body's fire, my soul will never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times, or fallen in the fight, and everything would seem worthless, I have lived amidst eternity. My soul is grateful. My life was worth living. Those who are pressed from all sides but remain victorious in spirit is welcomed into the choir of heroes. Those who overcome the fetters given wing to the mind is entering into the golden age of the victorious." There ends his prayer. Today, we celebrate virtually, but in keeping with Dr. Chopik's original intent of the flower communion, let us unite in a spirit of love and reflection for the beauty of the flowers, because they create patterns wild and free as no gardener could match. Because they create patterns in the meadows, they speak of freedom. Under the roof of leaf and branch, they nestle in the forest like snug carpets, making a rug of softness. Before bursting into fruit, sweet to taste, they cling briefly at the end tips of branches. They speak joy to our sadness and hope to our fears. At the occasion of birth, they are buds bursting before us. They unite two lovers in beauty at the ceremony of love. And at the occasion of death, they are a reminder of how lovely life is. They color the darkest corner as messengers of hope. In the face of cruelty, they speak of courage and bespeak of the persistence of beauty in the experience of ugliness. They lift the melody of song to our ears and paint through the eye and hand of the artists as their fragrance binds us to sweet-smelling earth, transporting the human voice in chorus on winds of beauty. This communion of sharing is essential to a free people of a free religion. The flower ceremony continues to be celebrated in this congregation and hundreds of others around the world as a testament to the power of love to withstand hate and to the vision of a tolerant faith that shows the world that the way is not by persecution or threats of violence, but by drawing people to its principles with the sweet fragrance of peace and freedom. So the flowers that we share through our individual photos this morning bring us the assurance that warmth and kindness can pierce through frost of cruelty and indifference, that mercy and decency will blossom, that goodness has deep roots and will always prevail. What seems most fragile and perishable is most persistent and enduring. Sisterhood and brotherhood, justice and charity will ultimately prevail. This is the lesson of the flower. From my heart to yours, may it be so. Now, please unite in a spirit of prayer and meditation as I offer these words of the flower communion prayer. When we take a moment to contemplate our flower, we will notice it has a center, a focal point from which everything radiates. Ask yourself where your own center lies. Flowers stretch up toward the life-giving sun. Ask yourself, toward what lofty aim does your own soul aspire? Flowers have roots hugging the earth. Ask yourself, where do you draw your own strength and nourishment? In the name of providence, which implants in the seed the future of the flower, and in our hearts the longing for people to live in harmony, in the name of the highest, in whom we move and who makes the mother and father, the brother and sister, lover and loner what are. In the name of sages, great religious leaders who sacrifice their lives to hasten the coming of the age of mutual respect. Let us renew our resolution sincerely to be real brothers and sisters, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges us from each other. In this holy resolve, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are God's family, that one spirit, the spirit of love, unites us, and endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life. As we go forth this day, may we grow in beauty, in light, in cheer, and joy, and share our gifts as freely as flowers bloom. And may we endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life. Amen.